Still have. She hasn't left me yet, although she's not that thrilled I'm here today.
This is going to be posted on the internet now, so.
She let me know. Pretty clear. I've been a stockbroker. I became CEO of the regional transportation company. We sold in 2003, and then Think Together was struggling. Think Together had actually run out of money. I was the volunteer board chair, and I had this option to buy this other little insurance company, just spin off for this other company that we had. So I was just kind of figure out what I was going to do next, and so Think Together had some problems, and so I went in there as kind of like, as a volunteer, just half time to just try to turn around. I thought, this is really my passion. It's what I'm supposed to do. Because a friend of mine said, "Randy, you're just working to support your Think Together habit anyway. You might as well do this full time." But convincing my wife of that was a big deal, because I was making pretty good money, and we had a big house, and we sold our bigger house and downsized and got rid of the nanny, and my wife had to go back to work. That was a big deal. And so when I went to Think Together, we had $150,000 a month overhead. We had $53 in the bank and nothing in the pipeline. So back to Wing saying, you got to make this thing financially sustainable. Yeah. And so my wife did not think that was a great idea. And so I made that leap. And so, but I said, honey, I think I see an opportunity in here. And so it was a big risk. And we had a cushion, but it was a lifestyle change. And it's turned out fine now, but it was really about kind of pursuing a passion. But it wasn't mindless. I mean, we do after-school programs, and in 2002, Schwarzenegger had passed the Proposition 49 after-school program, which was going to, at some point, was going to put out $550 million a year in money in the state. Then there were some other models, and I saw that some people actually charge rich families or upper middle class families, parents pay a lot of money for that. So it turns out after school in California is a $10 billion industry that's very underserved. People think about the little child care program or this or that. And I saw a business model there that you could actually turn it into a social enterprise, and Mark helped us execute on that.
Let me shift the discussion just a little bit, if I can, because I'm thinking back to the subtitle of this topic as I originally saw it. It was something about the implication of legacy as it relates to the development of our next generation of talent, and for the younger folks among us, which leads me to why I was asking you guys how old you were when you had that, for lack of a better word, epiphany. It seems to me that conventional wisdom or the conventional experience says that the whole question of legacy is something that happens later on in life. For you guys, it was Randy was 35, Tom was 49, Jason was 30. That's not later on in life, but it's not as a teenager or as a 20-something. So what is your take on that? At what point does this question that you offered us to ask ourselves, what kind of a legacy, or why do I want a legacy, and if so, what do I want it to be? When should we start asking that question? And what can we do to help other people ask that of themselves?
Right now. I mean, right now. I think everyone has to examine that in themselves, and if they're not truly making a great contribution, no matter what they're doing, there's really no chance of legacy. And it's interesting, it's kind of a juxtaposition there when you say legacy now, and it really doesn't exist now. I mean, I don't necessarily look at it in terms of myself, and I don't think any of us do here. It isn't about now. But if you can do something that contributes so greatly that you aren't even in I think Jason mentioned that, you aren't even in the conversation generations from now, then that's legacy. And you have to examine that now in what business that you're in what nonprofit that you're in. You have to examine very deeply is it making a great contribution, or could it be better? And if not, I'd say get out of what you're doing. I mean, whether it's for-profit or nonprofit, get out of what you're doing.
So if you go back to the earlier stages of development, young kids, teenagers, 20-somethings, that frame of mind, I know I'm overgeneralizing here a little bit, but that frame of mind is more, it's about me, and these are questions that go beyond me. So is it realistic to ask these questions at a younger age, and
I think it is. I think it gets back to your environment in which when you begin to get exposed to things. Like my son, who is now 7, knows his father has been building this school in Ghana for 4.5 years, and so now does my daughter. So they just have grown up with that. So if I can be a proud dad just for a few minutes, and I'm not saying this, I guess there's a little bit of ego in this, but who knows? My son, I walked in the bedroom one night, and this was when he was about 5, so about almost 2 years ago, and he says, "Daddy, I've got this great idea." He goes, "We are going to make books for the kids in Africa." And he goes, "We're going to make Spider-Man books, Batman books." I mean, he's got a whole list of what he's going to do. We're going to sell them for $10. And then we're going to go down to the dollar store, and the next time you go, we're going to give these kids these toys. So I'm seeing this little entrepreneur mind, like, "Well, this is great." And I'm like, $10 seems a little steep. He goes, "What do you think?" "How about $1?" He goes, "Okay, Dad." And I'm like, and he goes, "I need to sell them at that place you always get coffee." When you talk about Starbucks, he goes, "Yeah, that's where we're going, right?" So I'm watching this little business plan like unfold in front of my eyes by this 5-year-old. And he goes, "We got to make a sign," and so on. And so, I mean, he's just out there. He made 16 books, right? He's got his little sign, so there's proud mom and dad, and so on. He's sitting there with his books, and he's going up to strangers, kind of telling them what he's doing and a little bit of that. Raised $54. And so, my wife and I are like, where did this come from? I mean, where did this thing come from? And so, Cindy, who I've been building the school with, obviously we heard the story and it hit the paper. And next thing you know, at our next fundraising event, we said, "Hey, would you like to make some more books?" And he goes, "Oh yeah," because he had such great success. Well, he raised another, I think, $300 and something at the event. Well, this January 7th, a couple weeks ago, when we opened up our preschool, we took all the proceeds from both those fundraising events, and we purchased every supply for that classroom. We told that story in front of 120 people. The main chief of the region stands up, unannounced. His name is Chief May, that's his American name. He says, "I want to say thank you for telling me that story." They call me JJ over there. Why, I don't know, but that's my name in Ghana. So you go home and you tell your son that he has taught a valuable lesson to a chief and this community. I say that as a proud dad, but I also say to you is that there was nothing that I encouraged that besides I'm telling you the countless conversations I've had with my son at 5 years old, and I know he's looking at me going, "My dad's crazy. But why does he keep telling me it's not about this stuff, but it's about serving others?" It is my hope that I can't, these, like you said, children are going to make their own decisions, as we all know, those of you who have children, that you can do the best you can to guide that into a smallest extent. So as you leave here today, and you look around the influences that you have and the environment that you have, it begins right there. It begins in your conversation.